Welcome to the Daytona Beach Real Estate Insider, powered by the Daytona Beach Area Association of Realtors. Whether you're a real estate agent or just interested in our local real estate market, we hope this podcast provides value to you. We explore how our local association supports its members and share key tips for navigating Volusia and Flagler County real estate. Stick with us for the next few minutes. You won't want to miss it.
All right, we're back again, the Daytona Beach Area Association of Realtors podcast. So thanks for joining us. I'm Kristin Petersen, this year's president of the association. And today I'm really excited because this is in my wheelhouse. I love talking with other real estate agents about how they're getting their business, what they're doing, what their secrets are. You know, back in the day when I got into real estate in the 90s, nobody gave up their secrets. So you had to learn the really hard way. You had to make the mistakes and do all the things and whatever. And now you can get secrets on TikTok and YouTube and everything, but I prefer face-to-face, voice-to-voice. So I've got Lee Buckner here with me and Kim Hancock with me. And I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions. So Lee, give a little bit of background.
My name is Lee Buckner. Lived in Florida now for about 20 years. Moved here from Charleston, South Carolina. Formerly the owner of Southern State of Mind Food Truck and Catering. Retired last January. Turned that business over to my daughter and went full-time into real estate at that point.
Okay.
Loving it.
Yeah, I hear the South Carolina.
Born in Louisiana.
It's the Louisiana that came out of you. Okay. And Kim?
Well, I'm Kimberly Hancock. I have been here in the Daytona Beach area since I was about 10 or 11 years old. So I grew up here. I'm a little bit of an anomaly, I hear. I'm a second generation realtor. So my dad was a realtor here for the Daytona Beach area as well. And I did take time off. I had 2 children and I was blessed to be a stay-at-home mom, but I kind of always had my finger on the pulse. But I've been full-time in real estate since 2019 and I love it.
Well, welcome both of you, and you were cherry-picked to come here because Lee is a little less than 5 years full-time in real estate, and then Kim, you're over 5 years, and of course growing up here and in a real estate family. So we wanted to get both perspectives, and I'm going to start off with Lee, just starting off from 0 to 5 years, and I want you to tell me what your journey has been like, but specifically, did you come out of the gate? Of course, you entered the real estate atmosphere. The market was changing, right?
Yes. So I got my license towards the end of 2020.
Okay. So it was on fire. It was becoming on fire.
Yes.
And then, and COVID, was that COVID was full effect?
We live in Florida. So
yeah.
COVID was almost over by the end of 2020.
Okay.
We weren't seeing all the restrictions.
Seems like it wasn't that long ago, but
Yeah.
it was. Okay, so but still, the market was still very, very good, and
Yes.
and so you get into real estate in that kind of a market, and I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easy, maybe easier.
Well, I'll be honest with you. My first full year in real estate, I did 1 deal.
Oh, okay. Go on.
Okay. So I think the one thing I learned early on in real estate is that it matters where you start out. It matters. I don't know, we're not going to talk about where we work or who we work for, but generically, who you work for matters. Mm-hmm. And I just think that it wasn't a good fit where I was. I wasn't getting the support maybe that I needed. Made the switch about 14 months later, and I mean, the gates opened, just floodgates opened. Mm-hmm. And I remember being at the end of the year awards for my brokerage and seeing someone get awarded with Agent of the Year. And I'd only been there for like 6 weeks, but I won Agent of the Quarter for my first quarter there. And I said, next year I'm winning Agent of the Year. And thankfully, the last 3 years, I've either been Agent of the Year or Listing Agent of the Year each year.
Well, that's awesome. Now, you're treating it like a business then?
Absolutely, 100%. And I have a history of, we owned a landscaping business, and then we owned Southern State of Mind Food Truck and Catering for 8 years before I retired from that. So I treat it just like a business. Much, I didn't mention this, but I'm also a musician. And like I just did 5 gigs in 4 days this past week, so my voice is a little raspy. But I treat that like a business.
That makes a huge difference. And that would be a piece of advice, I think, going back into my earlier career too, that, I don't think that's really focused on a lot when you get your real estate license and you're hired and they're like, oh, great, good luck to you, and there's not a lot of, hey, this is a business and you actually have to open at a certain time, close at a certain time, and treat it like a business.
Time
right?
blocking is huge.
Exactly.
And it's so easy, right? Because in at least real estate was something I'd always wanted to do. It always fascinated me when I was in high school. Like, I just thought a realtor would be a cool job to have. And I'd been in sales off and on for years, but I had this misconception that to be in real estate, you had to go like 6 or 8 months without a paycheck, and you had to be in an office 40 hours a week at least, and you had to do all this. Well, that wasn't the case. Especially now, the way the real estate market is, most people really don't see the inside of their brokerages very often. We're kind of left to ourselves when we work from home, and every realtor I know has a nice office at their house. When you do that, right, it's easy to, well, maybe I'll just watch some TV, or maybe I'll go jump in the pool.
Do the laundry.
Or I don't do laundry, but
well,
I'll go to the beach, or what I
Yeah.
mean? It's easy, but you have to treat it like a business, and you have to time block, and you have to prospect, and you have to do, because nobody's standing there with a salary check for you.
Right.
You just, like my mom used to tell us, on a rainy day, go make your own fun. And that's what you have to do each and every day. You've got to get up with that mindset of, and for me, the first thing that drove me was, I kept going back to 2021 at our awards thing and hearing the person get, and every year that was my driving force. I have to get up and do this, or else I'm gonna have to watch someone else get my award every year.
Oh, what a great,
And-
little incentive there that you created for yourself.
And the other thing, not that it's all about the money. I mean, I've got a history of, I was a pastor and I was a cop and I was a firefighter. I've always done things where I like to help people, but at the same time, I kind of want to, help myself and make money, to support my family. And the other mindset I have is, I always look at people, and more so when I had the food truck, but it was like, okay, everybody I meet has my money in their pocket. They either need to sell a house, or they need to eat food, or they know somebody that needs catering. How can I appeal to this person to make them let me work for them so that I can get, and when you have that mindset mixed with, it's a business, no one's going to give me a check, I got to go out and make my own fun. You put all that together, it drives me. It's what works for me.
So far, have you, is there kind of something that that this is a mistake that I've made that I'm definitely not going to repeat, that you've learned in these last few years?
There's been like certain things that have happened in certain deals, yes, that have been a painful, costly learning lesson. And I'm sure all realtors have those stories. I think the biggest thing I learned was who I aligned myself with when it came time. Because honestly, getting my license in September of 2020, in October of 2021, I've never failed at anything in my life. But because to fail, you have to quit before you succeed. So I'm not saying I've been perfect at everything I've done, but I've worked my tail off, and I've walked away from things, but not until I've succeeded. Like, I get bored with it and I go do something else, but I didn't leave without succeeding first. And this was the first time in my honest life that I was ready to walk away from something as a failure, because I just couldn't, I couldn't get, I didn't
get the traction
the
that you were
traction,
looking
the
for.
support and everything I needed.
Yeah.
So to me, if I could go back and change any one thing,
Start at the right place.
I would have started at the right place. And I think that I would be.
Yeah. Well, you're doing very well so far. So, and especially, under 5 years, that's 80% of the people who get their licenses aren't sitting here talking this story. They're back at the mall or wherever they're working, So, Kim, I'm sure you maybe a similar experience in those first 5 years, or maybe not, because he's done actually pretty well. But,
has.
you can start with the first 5 years, but I'd really like to hear about, okay, after that, how do you go? Because there is a big shift if you're doing well in that first 5 years to get stagnant almost, And so how do you take it up the notch,
Yeah, it's a mental shift, or at least for me, there was a mental shift. And not to say it was easy in 2021, but it did come a little easier. But I jumped in 2019. I was generating leads and I was working then. Then it felt like it got a little easier, but I actually got bogged down with COVID in 2021. And it took me a full year to be back up and running with my business. So since then, I have done a lot, and I had a mental shift probably right around 5 years in. I think it's interesting to me that you align 0 to 5 and then 5 and up, because it was right around that 5 year mark where I had a mental shift and I really sat down with myself and had a one-on-one kind of, it's like a staff meeting with myself. And I was like, the market is changing. Things are going to have to change. It was easier. Not that I'm saying real estate was ever easy, but it was easier to get away with not having strict time blocking and strict boundaries. It was, you could get away with a little bit more. And that mindset really started to change about 1.5 years ago. And where I was like, all right, this is what we're going to do, a daily schedule. And I learned to set boundaries, because my phone would go off at 10 p.m. or 2 o'clock in the morning. And there was a time in my life where I was like, you have to answer it. The business is there. And boundaries was a huge part of my mindset. But just like Lee said, running this as a business, 100%, I'm all in. And you have to run it like a business for it to pay you like a business. Otherwise, it becomes a part-time gig. Like we've all had probably part-time gigs in our past. I sold Party Light candles and Tupperware and Mary Kay. Those were all little part-time gigs. But in order for it to treat you like a business, you have to treat it like a business. And that was a huge mental mindset change for me.
I'm really glad to hear that you guys are talking about that, because it's just, I think that's like a foundational bottom line. You've got to get there first. You have to time block. You have to know what your calendar is like, and you have to treat this like a business. And if you get that down and the business starts coming, then the other stuff that's coming into play can help. For instance, right now, the industry is changing, right? So
Absolutely.
AI is the big talk. AI has always been around, but the AI thing, how do you actually market for leads now? I mean, the lead generation thing is changing. You used to be able to buy a zip code at Zillow and get all these leads, and they would convert in a year. Now they don't convert, for who knows how long. So looking at that kind of thing, what is your vision, let's just say over the next year or two, about what you're going to do about lead generation? Are you changing? Are you staying with what you're doing? And if you are, what are you doing?
I'm probably going to stick with what I've always done, to be honest.
Which is?
I'm very big into organic lead generation. I never really was the buy-in to Zillow. I tried it. And we all know, where that usually takes most of us. But organically generating, believe it or not, I love open houses. I'm huge on open houses. Almost every weekend I do one. If I can do 2, I'll swing 2. I have done 3, but that's really pressing. But organically generating through open houses, I have no problem talking to the lady behind me at Publix when I'm checking out and handing her a business card and drumming up a conversation that way. I've gotten business like that. So I call it organic lead generation, where, it's going somewhere, because this business really is relationships.
Yeah.
Everybody knows a realtor, and if they don't, then their son does, their daughter does, their aunt, their uncle, somebody knows a realtor, so it's not hard to find one. So you have to stand out. It really is a relationship-driven career, and I like people for the most part, so I can create that relationship almost instantly. So organic lead gen for me really is the key. Open houses, grocery store, playing golf, whatever it is. Anywhere I'm at, I can do it.
The good old face-to-face, voice-to-voice. What about you, Lee?
So I know you were hoping to get different perspectives.
No,
but
I
she
want
and I
the
actually have a lot in common.
real.
Listening.
Well, I want
so-
everybody to hear the real life
so-
perspective. I mean, this is April 2025. In case you're listening to this down the road or a year or two from now, but this is where we are.
So, I didn't really know. I'm still green. Less than 5 years doing this, and there's people like you guys have way more experience than me doing it. But
it's kind of like having a ton of designations. Just because you have the experience, if you're not doing the work, you're still not getting the business.
So for me, like when I first started where I'm at now a few years ago, Op City was all the rage. And the leads I was getting weren't great. They told me to turn on rentals because I'd get more leads. It would boost the score. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. The amount of effort I'm putting into this, I could stand on a corner with a sign that says I'm a realtor and it would be more productive. But I did it. And I actually flipped a rental guy who called about a rental. And I said, why don't you just buy? and we started talking and we hit it off. And 34 days later, he closed on a house.
Wow.
And then we switched lead gen companies when that kind of dried up. Op City, kind of changed and the thing. So we got a different lead gen company, and it was like, I'm doing all this work to sift through these leads, to give them a percentage of my leads. So then I looked at buying my own leads, and I'm like, so I really just took that effort, and for me, I put it into a YouTube channel. I bought the equipment I needed.
I love this.
And I did a YouTube channel, which, all told, I'm probably like $6-7 grand out of pocket because I have really nice equipment for it. But I've had like 4 or 5 closings totaling probably 50 grand off of that. My next project, and I know you know this, is I'm getting ready to take that, instead of just being a video, I'm going to turn it into a podcast, and it can be do both and everything. I just want to have time to get started on it. But between that and then honestly the music, as much as it's soothing for me and it's like my stress release to go out and play a couple gigs a week.
If you don't know, Lee plays guitar at a lot of the local joints around here. So. And
so when I first did it, I had music cards, like business cards for music and business cards for real estate. And I thought, well, this is stupid, because if I get caught out and somebody asks me as a realtor for a card and all I've got is my music card, doesn't make me look like a very serious realtor. Mm-hmm. But if I had a music person that wants me for music, they don't care what else I do. I hand her a real estate card. Now I might get a real estate lead. Obviously, real estate leads are way more lucrative than music leads. So I just started taking my real estate cards everywhere and putting it on there. And I'll do shows sometimes in my brokerage shirt. And I have no problem stopping in the middle of I'll finish a song. But if I see a client's calling me, I got to take a break. I'm a realtor, actually.
Wasted away. Wait, hold on a second.
Speaking of wasting away in Margaritaville, I got somebody calling me about a house there.
Yeah.
So I'll at least, most restaurants, bars, you get a crowd turns over about every 60 to 90 minutes. So I just watch who's there. And every time I come up and I reintroduce myself after a break and I say, hey, my name's Lee Buckner. I'm a real estate agent in town. This is just my fun gig. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for being here today or tonight. And I make sure that I'm always talking about the fact that I'm a realtor. No matter, like yesterday, I drove up to Palm Coast because I got a new vehicle. I got a new Bronco. And I'm not supposed to say that too loud because of where we are. But I went up and bought a Bronco. And I was buying something off of Facebook Marketplace. And I pull up and it's an attorney. And he's got this gorgeous house and gate and all these cars in the driveway. And he's like, what was your name again? I'm like, here's my card. I'm Lee Buckner. You ever need anything for real estate? He goes, we were looking at getting rid of our place in Vero. Do you know anybody down there? I said, yeah, me. I have a state of Florida real estate license. If I got to go to Vero, he's telling me it's like a $2 million house. I'm like, I'll go to Vero and sell your house. I've already done it in Melbourne. It's a little bit further. So I think those are, for me, it's just always making sure that everybody I talk to, whether it's the person ringing up my groceries at the grocery store, the server that's waiting on me, or people that came out to hear me sing, I'm going to make sure before the end of that interaction, they know I'm a realtor.
So what do you say to people out there then that are like, well, I'm a little shy. I don't want to be in people's face like that. I don't want to, what would you say to somebody? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to at the grocery store, I don't want to,
We're not secret agents. That's what I tell people. And I've had younger, not young in age, but, baby realtors go, how do you do that? Well, I'm not a secret agent. And it'll come. Sometimes it comes with confidence. And in that case, wear your brokerage shirt. Wear your name tag. I mean, people behind you, the lady behind you, if you turn around, she's going to read your name tag. Whether you have the courage or not to speak to her, she's going to know. And if she's thinking about selling her house, she might be like, oh, hey, you're a realtor? I was thinking about selling my house. I live at 123 Main Street. Easy conversation.
I've picked up listings that way. I've gone into a shake place, like a Herbalife shake place, to get a protein shake and literally left with a listing appointment and then got the listing.
Yeah.
So I just make sure that no matter, like I said, where I am, it goes back to what I said earlier, that mindset of everybody I run into has got my money in their pocket.
Somebody needs help.
Out of your pocket and into my pocket. Is it going to be real estate, or do you have a private party coming up and you need live music? In which case I'm going to tell all your guests that I'm a realtor. It's just, it has to become synonymous. And then I think you touched on this. It's such a personable business. I mean, buying and selling real estate is the biggest purchase and sell that you'll ever do in your life. And most people that have a good level head on their shoulders aren't just going to trust that to anyone. So if you can't connect, like, listen, I've had sellers I couldn't connect with and it didn't go well. We got the property sold, but it
wasn't fun.
No. But I think that it's as much selling yourself, like any sales job.
Yeah.
It's as much selling yourself as it is the services that you offer.
As a manager, I've heard people say to me sometimes, well, I'm not a salesperson. You know, I don't want to get salesy with people.
Neither
You're so
am
much
I.
nicer than me. Because like, then why do you have a real estate license?
Well, I always tell them, you've been selling since you came out of the womb. You know, when you were crying because you needed a new diaper, you were selling. Hey, I need a new. You didn't stop crying until you got what you wanted. Right. You sold it. You know, so really, we are all in sales. I think it's that stigma of, you know, I'm trying to sell you something.
We are, but I've told people when they say that, and then their mentality changes as soon as you say, well, you're a matchmaker or you're a consultant, you're a home sale consultant.
That's a good word
because the reality is you're already talking to them. You don't have to sell them on the idea of buying a home. They either walked into your open house or they approached you, or you've already had that initial conversation. You're not selling them the idea of buying or selling. They're already sold on that. It's about making the match with that buyer and that dream home or that investment property or whatever it is. It's making that match. Or consulting them. You know, maybe they're an investor, and investors, there's no emotional connection. It's, do the figures line up? You know, does that financially make sense on paper? You're a sales consultant. You don't have to be a salesman or a saleswoman. It's, and that again is mindset.
And
I've
a
seen
problem
people
solver,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. And I've seen
Sometimes
agents.
you're a house cleaner outer. Sometimes you're a lawnmower.
Right.
Sometimes you're
a painter.
Sometimes you're a I have painted. I have
too.
cleaned out houses.
Yeah.
I have cleaned pools.
Yeah.
I have replaced light fixtures. And
Got to do what you got to do.
I'm not an electrician,
We're
so
ninjas.
No. Yeah. Yeah. So if you let's say you were talking to somebody that is 2-3 years in, and they're just struggling. You know, they're doing that. You know, I have a sale. I had another sale. And now I have nothing, and now I've got to go back out and recreate it. And then maybe I'll have a sale 4 or 5 months from now. What would you say to them to kind of straighten out their business?
time block. Keep grinding. Head down.
Focus.
Focus.
Find a reason why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's what I heard from you.
don't keep doing what you've been doing for the last 3 or 4 months. Change it, because it's obviously not working. So, like, I'll be honest. Today is March the 31st. My last closing was 3 months ago today, December 31st, and I had to go. Okay, what am I doing differently? Because I literally was getting like 4 to 5 hours sleep a night the last quarter. The last quarter's usually pretty much it's a toss up. Is the first quarter or the last quarter the deadest of the year? Truthfully, it's probably the last quarter, because nobody's doing a lot right around the holidays, right? Good Lord, I did probably 60% of my business last year in the fourth quarter, maybe more. And I just couldn't keep up with it. So I thought, well, this is going to roll right into the next year, right? And it was like somebody just turned a faucet off. So, okay, now, whereas it was just coming to me, okay, so then I went back and looked, okay, the first half of the year last year, especially being an election year, was super slow. What was I doing that first half of the year to get everything going on the second half of the year? Because I think what happened for me is I got so busy with the results that I had stopped doing what I did to keep it going. So for me, it's been a learning curve that I have to find a balance between handling what I have that's coming in,
And
but
continue to
also
market.
continuing to keep that pipeline full. So for me, one of the things I did was when I sat down and looked at it, I said, okay, I want to, and I know every brokerage is different, but I wanted to start recruiting agents to kind of come work, not under me, but like, and not necessarily a team, because I don't feel like I'm there yet, right? I'm still too new at this and learning. But at least people that I could rely on and say, hey, I need some open houses done. I need this done. Hey, this client I think they'll match up better with you. Let's, and so I got them to come over to the brokerage I worked. And then, there's income share and all that stuff that works with different places. So that's helped out as well. But because all this work that I'm doing right now, when that faucet kicks back on in about 45 to 60 days, I don't want to get so busy that I'm not doing what I'm doing now.
Right, exactly. So Kim, after, let's say they've made it through that, and then they've shifted. Now they have a business, and it's pretty consistent through the year. I mean, some people, are happy with that, and that's what they want, which is fine. This is the great thing about real estate. It's never about what someone else is doing. It's if you're happy with your business, you're happy with your business. You don't have to, double or triple it or anything like that. But let's say that you did want to. What would your word of advice be to someone to kind of tweak it and take it up to another level?
Take it to the next level is keep doing what you're doing, but amplify it. You know, if what you're doing is working, and I'm assuming it is because they have the results are coming in, there's consistent results, amp it up a little bit. You know, if you're on the phone 2 hours a day, you know, making your prospecting calls, push it, make it 3 hours a day. If you're spending, you know, $1,000 a month on your marketing, bump it up, make it $1,500. Take it to the next level till you're at another level where now, like Lee was just touching on, you need to start, you know,
having
maybe
having
an assistant, you know, handing off referrals to somebody in your brokerage. You know, that's another way to kind of create some passive income with extra leads, you know. So that's what I would say. If you're happy and you want to go to the next level, it's all about pushing. You know, just like, you know, if you were an athlete, what would you do to make your time faster? You push. You have to push it a little harder. You train a little harder. You lift more weight, you know, that kind of situation.
Yeah. And also, you know, look into the technology part of the world of real estate now that can actually help you with your systems and all of that kind of stuff. Nothing beats talking to people face to face, but you know, you can also cut off some stuff that's time consuming and maybe have a virtual assistant or something like that.
And funny, it's the next thing I was going to say. So one of the changes I made this year, I got to go to a conference in Orlando, and one of the sections of the conference in Orlando was about AI. I didn't really know anything about AI, right? Like, I know that my photographer would sometimes send me, like if I was in a hurry, like if I'm listing 3 or 4 properties in 1 week, and I've always prided myself that I sit down and type out and come up with my own listing agreements. I enjoy writing them. But some days you're just too busy, right? And my photographer, when she would send me my photographs, it would have this thing that was part of it where I could plug in a bunch of answer questions, and it would type the most beautiful description. I'm like, she's like, oh, it's AI. So that was literally my extent of knowledge. So we're sitting through this whole AI segment, and they talk about this little thing called a plod. Not applaud, but a separate word, plod. And I was like blown away. He's like, literally every time I go into a meeting with a client or anybody, I will say, hey, I'm going to have my assistant take notes. And it's this little thing. It's in my truck. It magnets to the back of my phone. And it records, even if it's a phone call, I can record the phone call. I just let them know, hey, I'm recording this just because I don't want to miss anything. But it will record meetings. We recorded meetings together, Kim and I have, with Leadership Academy. And then at the end of it, you can actually go in and say, hey, summarize all this. And then we see. But what's nice is when it's been a client meeting, I say, hey, Bud, tell me how I could have done better. And the AI literally goes, well, you know, and it doesn't go, well, you sucked at this and you suck. It doesn't do that. It's just like, well, you know, you could have paid a little bit more attention. You kind of missed this cue. And it's almost like having a own little trainer in your back pocket. So for me, that was another way that I think that I've gotten better, just because you guys don't see that part. When I send you the notes, I don't send you the part about me.
Right.
I always say, how could I have done better in this? And I save that just for...
Yeah, I mean, AI, we had an AI guy, Kiro, at the board a couple weeks ago, and he talked about using AI as, let's say you're going on a listing appointment, and you've talked to them obviously on the phone, so you kind of have an idea of what the personality is like. So you can tell AI, hey, I want you to pretend that you're this seller, you're wanting this and you're wanting that, and you're very, you know, it's going to be a 15-minute conversation. I want you to role play with me as the agent, and it will role play with you before you go to the appointment. I thought that was fantastic because nobody wants to role play in the office. You know what I mean? Because they're like, I don't want to do this in front of my peers. But you'll do it to your phone all day long, you know, talking around in your car.
Well,
so
and you can
interesting.
also say to Plod, what was their, like you say you're going on a buyer's consultation, what was their most important thing? And we might think it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or we might think it's the kitchen. And they'll come back and go, no, the most important thing is the master closet for the wife. That was the thing that, and we might completely miss it.
Yeah.
So that when you call them back and say, hey, I found this one, and I know that, you know, your wife really is interested in like a nice master closet, and they'll blow them away. Like I was hearing examples of, you know, not just like, this is stuff that these agents that we spoke with at this conference actually experienced. It wasn't like they were just saying, what if? And he said it made a difference in them getting the sale of the house, they felt like, because they were able to pick up on things that they themselves didn't pick up on, but AI got them to.
Yeah, and a lot of times you're at those appointments and you're thinking So you're not
Right.
necessarily
Well, or you're
hearing.
trying to take notes.
Right.
That's, for me, being ADHD, that's been the best thing for me because I get so much more. Like, I record government affairs meetings when I'm on committee. I go in because I'm able to listen and participate instead of, because I'm writing this down. Now, while I'm writing this down because of my, again, ADHD brain, I'm writing this down. I'm not hearing anything you're saying. So I'm missing every time so I just started doing this, and then I get to actually participate and listen and learn. And, you know, and then I go back later and say, okay, now summarize it. Now I've got something to stare at instead of my chicken scratch that I can usually only read about half of anyway.
The key is, you know, there's so many shiny new tools out there, right? That and a lot of people trying to sell them to you and everything else. The key is to not get, you know, the analysis paralysis and, oh my gosh, there's so much that you do absolutely nothing. But just to pick one or two things that can help tweak that business and get you to the next level and everything, you know. Just one or two, and if you don't like it, then get it one more, you know, and just work on it that way and kind of grow the business. But
Agreed.
I really appreciate y'all's time. That was good info and a good little tip at the end there. I like that.
Yeah.
So,
it's
yeah,
incredible. And
What
on
The plot.
Oh,
speaking about what Lee was just talking about the master closet, I think that goes back to shows a connection. As soon as you call and say, hey, I think I found this house, you know, I know that master closet's really important to your wife. Let's go take a look at this. It automatically creates a connection. Oh, you were listening to her. And then,
that's what
and
the
then
agent...
he tells, you know, his wife, hey, the
This one's
realtor
got
just
the
called.
closet.
This one has a great closet. He just told me. And she's like, oh my goodness. He really listened to how important a silly closet is, right?
And that's the point that the agent that was presenting at that conference I went to talked about, was that they don't expect you sometimes to pick up on every little thing, or they don't expect you to pick up on every little thing, but especially so often we as agents, because like you said, we're trying to think, people are talking to us, what are we doing? We're literally going over inventory first of our own listings in our head. Can I double side this deal? Can I match them with my own listing first? If not, you're thinking, okay, what's in my office right now? Or what has a bonus, or what has it, right? So you're going through all this in your head and you're not catching everything they're saying.
Right.
But Plod, just, you know, it's on Amazon. It's like $130 and they mailed me the thing. You don't have to pay for a subscription. You get like 300 minutes a month, which I just use the free, and I've never run out of time. But man, for me, and I know even another person in our Leadership Academy got it, another friend of mine who's a realtor got it, and they are like blown away by it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's so many tools out there to use. So investigate that, but not in the beginning. In the beginning, get in front of as many people as you can and talk to them, right?
And
make
align
friends.
yourself with the right place.
Yeah,
Make sure
right
you
up front.
fit. Make sure you fit. Because to me, that you can put yourself in front of as many people as you want, but you sit through that real estate class and you really don't know anything on how to be a realtor.
Yeah, you need the support, and you need
that
training
support,
and stuff. Yeah.
and you need to make sure you're clicking where you're at.
Yeah.
Not having support the first year was probably the biggest detriment to my career.
Yeah. Yep. It makes a difference. We're lucky these days. God, back in the day, you had no support. It was like, you're hired, thank you.
Oh, they're like,
and we have
checking your
pizza
pulse.
night. We have pizza night on Tuesday with the phone books and everything. Anyway, I'm going back in the day. Anyway, thank
What's
you
a
guys
phone
for your
book?
time. I know, right? Thanks for your time,
Thank
you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daytona Beach Real Estate Insider. We hope you found today's episode helpful. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update. And don't forget to follow us on social media for the latest news and tips. Until next time, happy house hunting.